Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Kaosplay. Cool name, right? But anyway, what this is going to be a slowly progressing TV show in which we start very simple, very basic, just tell you what you need to start doing cosplay if you've never done it before. And then we're going to slowly advance to hopefully armor, lights, things like that. And I actually do like mold making, so eventually we're going to get into that as well. And what I would say is if you fancy yourself someone who's been around the block a few times, been around a few conventions for years, don't rule the show out. I mean, right now we're starting very simple, but we may end up touching something that you don't know, or maybe you need a refresher on, or maybe we'll have a different kind of view on what you used to do, but maybe we have a slightly better way. But anyway, I have a co-host for my very first show here, and I'll let her introduce herself, because she also has a show with us.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I'm the host of Jiggery Pokery. And what I do on that show is we make things, and I have a background in theater, so a lot of what I make is props for cosplay, but other stuff as well. So synergy.
I think we're going to be really good friends because you already do the LED stuff that I want to do later, so I think I'm going to have you back a few times.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, what this is, like I said, this is the very first episode, so we're starting very simple. For those who are looking to get into the costuming, what do you need? Because most people will look and say, well, I need to know how to sew. Well, yeah, of course you need to learn to sew if you intend to fully make your own costumes, but you can buy them. But this is for those who are wanting to do the actual costuming themselves. So obviously, either at least bare minimum, thread and needle, sewing machine. You could borrow one. Maybe a friend has one. Usually grandmother or mother have a sewing machine. Sometimes even your dad may have a sewing machine, depending on your type of family. But definitely that for basics. A lot of people use hot glue guns.
Yeah. I have worn costumes made entirely out of duct tape.
Hopefully that's onto something and not your skin.
It's on duct tape to duct tape. And, stitch witchery also, we'll hold together, costumes held together by stitch witchery and wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking, and sometimes hopes and dreams. But one thing I would suggest is there's a bad kind of glue gun and there's a good kind of glue gun. The really cheap dollar store ones, they will light on fire eventually, or they will burn your fingers. Get a nice one with a few different varying degrees of heat, because sometimes you don't need the scalding, third degree instant burn kind. Just the low heat will do what you need. So invest a little bit. I know you're just starting out, but don't go to the dollar store. Don't get the really, really cheap things, because I'm sure we've all tried that. I know I tried it when I was beginning, and that was like the worst decisions I ever made. Yeah,
in the long run, it will save you money because you're not constantly stopping what you're doing, driving to the store, buying another cheap glue gun. Consider how much you want to spend to begin with, and then add on to your collection of tools as you go. That's a good advice for anybody.
Absolutely, because I've been there, done that. I started way back when cosplay didn't have TV shows, didn't make the newspapers, didn't have its own magazines. It was back in '98 when I started, and there wasn't anybody to tell me, here, this is what you do. This is how you do this. This is what you need to buy. So I did all those pitfalls. I started with my mom's cheap things, her sewing machine, her glue gun, and I quickly found out the more and more I did costumes, the more and more I wanted to, the more and more I needed to actually have a decent thing. And how great would it have been if I actually started like that.
What was your first costume?
Oh, Devil Hunter Yoko, her assistant was Azusa. So I had, my mom actually helped me. That's a great way to start. It also involve your family, your friends, things like that. And she actually sewed it. So I didn't sew, she taught me eventually. But we had a big foam yin-yang on the front, which wasn't the best. And your first costume's not going to be the best. And
so that was your first cosplay, but what was your, my first cosplay was when I was a little kid. I had a Little House on the Prairie dress.
Oh, okay. Wow, I wonder if I can remember back that far. The farthest back I can remember is at a local, I can't remember even the name for it, a tiny town I grew up in, a community center. They had a community center, and they had a Halloween show. And my mom and I had worked on this big bear costume, because I was going to try and win it by going, really crazy. And then, it didn't end so well. I ended up tripping over the space heater, and I was a bear down, and then it was really, really bad. And thankfully, I didn't light on fire.
Yeah,
luckily. But yeah, that's how a lot of people get started. A love of Halloween and just costuming in general. So I think it sounds like that was the same for you then.
Yeah, like I said, when I was a little kid, I had this dress that we got at, I think it was Sears, and it reminded me of the dresses that they wore in Little House on the Prairie. It might have even been some kind of, tangential tie-in. And then as I got older, I kind of really wanted a members-only jacket in brown because it looked like the jackets that the Warriors on the original Battlestar Galactica wore. And that's the great thing about cosplay is that you make a connection with a character or a world, and you want to make it yourself a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. And just to get right back on the subject here, is using that as an example, you don't have to make everything. You can start off by making bits and pieces. Like if you can find a jacket that works for the character, certainly go out and get the jacket, because we don't expect you to hit the floor running and make everything from scratch. And you can use bought pieces. There's no law against it. It's purely about fun. You can take the competition. What is the competition? Competition route. You can do that later. If you really, really want to be there in the end, you got to start slow. Don't try to kill yourself, because you're not going to enjoy it. You're going to hate it. It's going to become like work or a job for you. So start slow. Enjoy yourself.
Definitely.
Is the biggest thing.
And just you put together your costume and go out and wear it. I wore my when I knit my first Doctor Who scarf, I wore it before it was even done. I just figured out a way to wind it around my neck so that it looked like it was as long as it was supposed to be, and I went out and I had a great time. So, don't be afraid. People will see who you're dressed as, and you can always upgrade as time goes on and as your skill increases and your budget goes up.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one big thing that people run into is that courage to take the first step. I mean, you could, sew, you could craft all day long and all night long sometimes, and when you get to the convention, you may be intimidated. Well, you don't need to be, because you're going to be in a sea of people that understand, that are going to want your picture regardless, because they love that thing that you're dressed as. They love the Doctor Who series. They love, that anime that you're from, that video game, and they'll just start up a conversation with you. Because like me, I started out very weird, because obviously I'm not really a female. I'm transgendered, but back then I didn't know. I just knew that I loved all the female characters and I wanted to dress as a female character. So for me, it was a huge hurdle to go from not doing it, being normal me, and then hopping over to the other side and not only being a female, but being a female with green hair, wearing a yin-yang in a Chinese short outfit, showing legs, and it was a huge hurdle. I can't really imagine what everyone else goes through for something like that. It's daunting, it's scary, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. Cosplay isn't about drawing attention to yourself. It's about drawing attention to this thing that you love and your expression of it. And so when you do a costume and you go out in it, what people aren't necessarily seeing you, they're seeing your love of that character or that idea that you're trying to convey.
Yeah, it's like an expression of your fandom, saying, I really love Doctor Who, and this is my favorite Doctor. And sometimes people will come up and say, my favorite's actually the other Doctor, and it'll start a conversation.
Yep.
So that will also help with your nervousness if that's what you're facing.
Or they'll ask what you're dressed as. I got a lot of Tiny Tim when I was dressed as the fourth Doctor that one time.
Oh, no.
There weren't a lot of Doctor Who fans at that party, but that started a conversation. What are you dressed as? Are you Tiny Tim? No. Yeah. Do I have a ukulele? I don't think so.
Oh, no. I don't even know where to go from that one, but I've dressed as some obscure things too. Like, that's another downfall, is like if you dress as something obscure, don't expect everyone there to know what you're dressed as, because I dressed as Cyberdoll K from Handmaid May. I can't count how many times I thought someone was going to take my picture, because I made all these little tiny pleats. I was so proud of that costume. And this was Otakon one year, and people would come up to me and go, "Where did you get your Invader Zim bag? Was it in the dealer's room?" I'm like, no, actually I got it at Hot Topic. You'll have to go to a mall for that, sorry. That was what everybody wanted to ask me. It wasn't about my costume, it wasn't to take my photo, it was my Invader Zim bag, because that was the really popular thing.
But if you had met that fan that knew what you were dressed as, the love would have been, because when someone sees, like I have a Fem 5, and when Fifth Doctor fans not at like a Doctor Who convention see me, they get very excited because, oh my God, you're the fifth Doctor. I love Peter Davison. He's so great. And it's a wonderful outpouring of love.
It absolutely is, because like you said, when you get that one person that gets it, that understands who you are, and they've actually watched that random obscure series, or just like that one villain that was in that one episode, you're instant friends. You're like, give me your Facebook, give me your email, give me your cell phone, because I love you. But that's pretty much all we have for today. But definitely, keep watching Fanboy TV. We're going to have many, many more episodes here of my show, Kaosplay, and also reiterate your
Jiggery Pokery.
Pokery. And if you can't spell that, just think about how it sounds. Watch both of our shows. We're going to be bouncing off each other and having lots of fun. So definitely stay tuned to Fanboy TV, okay?